Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so happy that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. Our guest today is Trinity Bursey. She is here to celebrate her brand new book, The Little Piano. Before we invite Trinity into the studio, we want to let you know it's coming on May 19th. Solve It for Kids debuts here on Reading with Your Kids podcast. This is an exceptional podcast that gives kids and families a peek into the real world of scientists, engineers, astronauts, artists, and other experts as they solve problems in their jobs using curiosity, critical thinking, and creativity. I am creating this podcast with my friend, our Dean of all things STEM and STEAM, Jennifer Swanson, and it debuts right here on the Reading with Your Kids podcast on May 19th. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you won't miss it. Solve It for Kids. It's coming. Joining us right now from the beautiful state of North Carolina, she is the author of a beautiful little book called The Little Piano. Please welcome to the show, Trinity Bursey. Trinity, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm really excited that you're on this show where music's been such a big part of my life. I actually learned how to play at the beginning of Ode to Joy on piano. Otherwise, I'm a drummer.
Oh, wow.
But I got that dun, 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 dun. I learned that and I said, this is good. I'm done. But I'm excited to learn about The Little Piano. Tell us about the story, please.
Sure. So The Little Piano is actually a book one of a series of books called the Little Instrumental Series. And this story follows Lyric, and she's a little piano, as the title suggests. And she thinks she has to travel the world and be famous in order to be loved and accepted. And it's through this journey that she realizes that she's loved just because of who she is, not for the fame or notoriety or anything like that. It's just because of who she is that makes her valuable and special.
Wow, that's a real thing that a lot of, not only pianos and musicians and athletes go through. I think a lot of kids, I remember there was a time when my daughter was younger, she used to come out and perform with me, and at different parts of her childhood, she would want to do it by her, be with me on stage by herself, and then other times she wanted a friend, one of her talented friends, to be with me. And I remember one time we were working on this piece with her and one of her friends, and I actually had a director come in and was working with us. And the director was being very generous and encouraging the girls. And at one point, my daughter's friend turned to him and said, "Gee, do you think one day I'll grow up to be famous?" And both me and the director, we were so sad because this young person, she had so much talent. And she seemed like she was having fun performing, but we quickly found out that it was all about becoming famous, and it wasn't about being a dancer or being a singer and just enjoying that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep.
Trinity, what inspired you to write The Little Piano?
I think just understanding, like you said, like kind of where I've been in my life, understanding that's where a lot of kids may be in their lives as well. And understanding that just pursuing things and thinking that, fame will make me happy. Those things don't actually make you happy in and of themselves. You know what I mean? We all have something deeper inside of us that we need filled. We need to know that we're loved, we're appreciated. And so for me, I feel like you're never too young to learn a message like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's good to explore that in a fun way that's entertaining, but to let you know and validate young kids to know they are valuable. You are special. We're all different. We all have different skills and abilities and gifts. And it can be so easy to say, I see this person on TV, that's what makes them special. It's like, no, you're special, just because of who you are.
Right.
And so something I just really wanted to kind of knock home for kids.
Yeah. As you were speaking about that, I'm thinking, when I was growing up, we had, I'm almost 100, but we had 3 channels, and so there are certainly people that were famous in the movies and famous athletes and famous people on TV, but it doesn't compare. The number of quote unquote famous people doesn't compare to everybody that we're seeing. They're Instagram stars and TikTok stars and Snapchat stars and Facebook and all of this, and it seems like this drive for fame is magnified now more than it ever had been. I wonder if that makes it harder for kids.
Like you said, I think it may, because they're exposed to so many more things now. Like you said, only 3 channels, and now if you include like all the different social media sites, it could be like over 1,000 different, venues and channels. Mm-hmm. But I think what better time to even tell them or teach them about their value now? You know what I mean? Because the, outside voices are like always competing for their attention of what makes them valuable, what makes them unique and special. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's just good, whatever way we can, to really let them understand the truth of who they are. Yeah.
Now you were sharing with me before we started that you're a teacher. Was there one incident that while you're teaching, or one young person that you were teaching that kind of ignited the spark to write the little piano?
I think just seeing all the kids, because I feel like we all kind of have that need, to be loved and appreciated. And so for me, it was just like, I want to be able to teach this to all kids. And it's amazing to see how all of my students, they love the book. They're always like, when's your next book coming out? Can you read the story to us again? They want to hear more about lyric, and they want me to bring little lyric dolls. And so I can see how much they just love, they've just bought into the series and the characters. And so that was really my desire, just to be able to reach all different kids, not just a particular set or this one child, but really I just love all the kids that I've taught, and I just want them to all understand how precious they are, not only to me, to their families and to their community.
So very important. Now I understand that you got into teaching, in an untraditional way. It was a career in basketball in college that kind of led you to teaching. Is that right?
Yes, actually it's true. So I love sports. I have so many different interests. I love sports, I love music, I love writing. And when I played collegiate basketball, we always had like camps in the summer. So we would have kids from all over, and we would like teach them basketball. We'd have little mini camps. We'd be their team leaders. And so I've always loved working with kids. My mom actually had a home daycare growing up. And so I always loved like taking care of kids, teaching them. And so it kind of naturally brought me along with my love for reading and writing to make something for kids. Because I love to be creative. And so it's fun to make your own stories, but the stories that have a purpose, that's really going to connect with kids and even adults too.
I'm curious, with that basketball background and that love of sports, why did you choose to tell this story and deliver this message through a musical instrument as opposed to basketball?
Yeah, so that's definitely interesting. For me, I think the best way to say is I was just praying about different story ideas, and this is just kind of what came about. So I know it was definitely praying to God and asking Him for just, I was just asking for different creative things, and this kind of came about. So I know I can't take credit for this at all, because, my, kind of mode of thinking was about sports and different things. So when this came about, I knew it was something special.
Now, do you have a background? Do you play any instruments yourself?
I took lessons when I was younger, but I would not call myself like really a complete musician. Uh-huh. I almost said magician. Not like you.
Oh, that's exciting. I think it's fun when we're experience success in one field. We can make a choice. We can continue on in that field and just, shift it into different ways and go from playing on the court to coaching and then maybe being an athletic director at a school. Or we can choose to say, okay, I did that. That was a lot of fun. Now I want to do something completely different. Is that something that you were feeling when you shifted from basketball into teaching and now into writing?
I think it's because I feel like as people we're so multi dimensional. You know what I mean? for me, I know I'm not just someone who loves sports and just loves athletics. You know what I mean? I love writing. I wrote my first book when I was like 10 years old. So I've always loved writing and making up stories, and I love music. So it's just cool to see that, and even to encourage kids that just because maybe you play an instrument doesn't mean you can't play sports as well, or you can't branch out and do other things, you know, and not be, like you said, not be afraid to branch out and think, oh, I'm only known for this one thing, I have to stay here. But to know that you can take a chance, take a risk, and go outside of your comfort zone, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hey, you bring up stepping outside of your comfort zone. I understand that you guys wrote a really fun comic book about Lyric overcoming her fears. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, yeah. So we actually developed a comic book, and it's called Bye Bye Fear, and so I'm super excited about that. So it's more of a short story comic, which is the first comic that we've done, so super excited about this. But it really deals with the fact that sometimes fear can be more contagious than anything else. You know, fear can spread very quickly. And so it shows Lyric dealing with fear and how she overcomes this, and when she does, how she helps others overcome it as well. So it's a really, really good story, and that should be coming out probably within the next few weeks. I'm super excited about that project.
You know, you mentioned the word fear and contagious, and that's something that we're kind of dealing with right now.
Exactly. So true.
Yeah,
very true.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why I wanted to write a book that kind of addressed that, you know, to help kids see that it's really about our perspective as well. Where are we going to put our attention? Is it going to be all about being fear-focused, or are we going to focus on something else instead to help us get through this? And then go about to how can we help others around us also encourage them and give them hope. So it's a fun story. It's a cute story. And it's a little different, but it's super cute. And so I really hope that, you know, people enjoy it.
Yeah, you know, that's such an important lesson for kids, that whole idea of acknowledging that everybody feels fear from time to time, but it's just a question of what are we going to do with that fear? Are we going to let it Are we going to let it rule us, or are we going to turn it into energy and turn it into
exactly?
Yeah. It sounds like you have lots of big plans for this series. Can you tell us a little bit more about your whole plan?
Definitely. I would love to. So, currently, so like I said, it's a series. So I have about 7 books I've written, but of course those books take time to come out. So we have book 1 done, which is Little Piano. And actually right now, book 2, we're working on that, which I'm super, super excited about. And I don't like to reveal a lot about my books until they're actually out. I like to keep it secret. But book 2 is really going to be great. It's basically about how even though we're all different, we're all amazing when we come together. So, you know, like for instance, you know, you and I can do something you can't do. You can do something I can't do. And we come together, we make something amazing. You know what I mean? Like we can work together instead of picking at each other and pointing out, like, you know, things that we can't do. So it really encourages kids and, you know, just people in general to appreciate the differences in others and let those things make something amazing. And so I'm super excited about all those books. And also, the Little Piano, we're going to translate that into Spanish. And so I already have the Spanish transcript already done. And so we're in the process now of getting the books fully into Spanish. So I can't wait for that.
That's really exciting. It reminds me of when I used to tour Puerto Rico with my show and translated my show into Spanish, and actually got a pretty good. I'd come off stage and people would just assume that I was fluent in Spanish, and they were sadly disappointed.
That is cool.
Now, do you have plans to translate it into other languages?
I do, but I'm the kind of person where I have those big visions, but I like to do small steps first and then kind of expand out. So English, the first language, that's easy. I can speak that. And then, next is Spanish, and then after we've done that for a while, we'll branch out to other languages. So I like to take the steps, but I definitely have the big vision of more languages.
A couple of times in our conversation tonight, you mentioned we're doing this and we're doing that. It sounds like you have a team behind you and
definitely.
Little Piano. Can you tell us a little bit about your team?
For sure, because I definitely can't take the credit for all of this. I have amazing people around me, people that I work with. I have Mr. John Shull, who's the illustrator for the Little Piano and for book 2. And then I have Anthony Lopez, who's the illustrator for the comic, which is called Bye Bye Fear. and I have just a bunch of other people that help as far as with marketing things and different brainstorming ideas around me. So I'm super blessed to have a lot of people that are so amazing.
My daughter she's in the music business, and anytime we go to a show, when the artist takes the time to introduce the rest of the people in the band, it just thrills my daughter. She's like, I like him. Okay, that person's cool.
That's awesome.
What did you find it very different writing the Little Piano storybook as opposed to writing the comic? Did you find that process very different and challenging?
It was a little bit because it had to be shorter. You know, we knew we wanted to stay within a page limit because there's 6 pages, but then there's like maybe there's multiple panels within a page. So like page 1, there's like 2 different pictures, and then page 2 probably has like maybe like 5 pictures. So I think that was the kind of a challenge, you know, to keep it kind of limited, but it was a fun challenge. You know, I love writing. I love encouraging people. I love like figuring these kind of things out. I love working with the illustrators and making the best version possible. So it was a challenge, but it was a fun challenge, you know?
I absolutely. Challenges are fun. You know, tell us, how can people connect with you and find out more about the Little Piano and be the first to know when the other books are coming out?
Yeah, for sure. So they can definitely follow me on social media. So the Little Piano on Facebook, there's a Facebook page, and the Little Piano Official on Instagram. Those are the best ways, and there's always updates on there, and they should be looking out for the comic book that'll be coming out soon. And also we have some pretty cool activities that go along with the comic book too, so it's going to be fun.
Awesome. Well, and you also have a website, right?
I do. I almost forgot. And that is thelittleinstrumentals.com.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of The Little Piano, Trinity Bursey. Trinity, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I had a blast.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Pam Allen, coming to us from Scholastic. She is going to tell us all about Scholastic Summer Read-a-Palooza. If you are the author of a great children's book, we would love to have you as a guest on a Reading with the Kids podcast. Being a guest is fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of people about your fantastic children's book. All you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the contact button at the bottom of the page. Let us know about your great book. We will let you know the next easy steps. Hey, be sure to continue listening. After I sign off, we're going to give you a quick little 1-minute preview of Solve It. It is debuting on May 19th here on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. You don't want to miss it. We want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. We want to start by thanking our guest, Trinity Bursey. Be sure to check out The Little Piano. Also want to thank my incredible team, starting with my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. I want to thank my awesome author ambassador, Peggy Cotto. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank you. You are the reason we do this show. Well, you and your kids. Every moment that you spend cooking for your kids, teaching your kids, reading with your kids, makes the world a better place. Thank you so much for all the love you're putting out into the world. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.
Hi, Katie. My question for you is, have you ever seen an asteroid up close while you're up in space?
Derek, that is a great question. No one has asked me that. I have seen evidence of asteroids when I was up in space. And the place we see them, asteroids are, they can be really, really tiny, like grains of sand, or they can be big, giant things like we see in the movies, or they can be meteors that are falling down to Earth and burning up mostly before they get here. But we would actually see little tiny, tiny little dents in our windows from micrometeorites, we call them, instead of asteroids. And when spacewalkers are out, they actually see those little marks all over the space station. So we are in space with the asteroids. We don't really get to see them, but we do see evidence.